Yep, we're good.
Good morning. I was told I have an hour and a half, so I put together about an hour and 20-minute PowerPoint thing. So it's only like 10 minutes for discussion, so just kind of keep that in mind. If any of you know me at all, you know I'm just giving you a bunch of crap. So it's the complete opposite. This is the same PowerPoint presentation that I put together for last in-service. It's a little later than this time last year, a little earlier, I should say. That's my wife texting. The main thing with this quote, and I love this quote specific to Alice, is the last line. The worst thing you can do is nothing. With the Alice refresher, and I was hoping to get a full-on Alice training at the start of this year, but I got put into a seat installation class the Friday before I was supposed to do this on Tuesday. So my captain didn't really consult me and realize they had other stuff that they needed to do. The biggest thing with this is just to kind of refresh your memory on what we can do during an Alice situation. What I don't want is this mindset that it won't happen here. Try and have the when this happens, then I'm going to do this mindset. If you have the it's not going to happen here, when you get to that old poop moment, you're going to go full black, and the kids that are depending on you to save their lives aren't going to have anybody to look to. So that's the main thing I don't want, is that that you're going to have this mindset, because it is potentially deadly. What we're stressing with kids is stop, look, and listen. Whenever they get that alert signal, part of the Alice thing, they need to stop whatever they're doing. They need to look at you, and they need to listen to exactly what you say. Because if they don't, and if you don't make that decision, even if it's the wrong decision, make a decision. I want to get you away from them not doing anything and just standing there, soiling yourself. Does anyone know how long most active shooter situations last? A couple minutes is pretty accurate, 5 to 7 minutes. Fortunately, the bridge is done, and I kind of repeat myself when I say these things from last year. If I'm up at Hagen, this is going to be done before I get here. Even sending the yellow submarine as fast as it'll go, and it tops out at 93, and that's it. But even any other officers in the city, it's going to take us at least 3 minutes to get here. Even lights and siren people, always do exactly what they're supposed to. Get out of the way and let us through. So that's obviously we're going to get here as fast as we can, but this is why it's so important for you guys to know what you're doing in that first few minutes to try and save lives. What our average response is time, 5 to 6 minutes. A lot of that depends on traffic. At noon, it's probably going to be about 7 minutes just to get here from the other end of town. That's not a huge thing. How often is a round fired during an active shooter situation? Well, one round every 8 seconds. So in that 5 to 6 minutes, I'm no math major and I'm not going to do it, but there's a lot of rounds being fired in that short amount of time. Let's see. Most of the situations are a single shooter. 97% of them male. Monday is the number one. Oh, there we go. Monday is the number one day when these incidents occur. Does anyone have any idea why? Weekend to think about it. Weekend to plan. And Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm not quite sure why the Wednesdays are there. Hump day usually not very good. 68% using a handgun, and 24% were schools. And the reason I put that in there is our lovely media, which I cannot stand for obvious reasons. They would make you think that 99% of active shooter situations are in a school. That's what sells papers, that's what sells news for them, that's what they're going to focus on. Most of these are going to be in business settings. Disgruntled worker comes back later on in the day to a place that has had no sort of active shooter training whatsoever, and they all go black. It's, like I say, this kind of caught me by surprise when I did the instructor training, is that, you would think that every school in the United States has had some sort of active shooter incident, and it's not the case. Alright, so that's why we implemented the ALIS training. It's alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. The first one, kind of hard with the lights, but, the one that we stress the most is the evacuate part and the last part of it. That's because if you're not there, you can't be hurt with it. So that's kind of the simplest form of evacuate. If you can get out, get out. Even with the lockdown part, the way I look at lockdown and the way a lot of law enforcement looks at lockdown is giving more time to find a way out. So whether it's barricading the door and getting your rear ends out that way, or just trying to find another way out. Thank you. Alright, so evacuating if it is safe to do so. You know, if we have a shooter on the east side of the building, and you know, you're pretty certain that they're on the east side of the building, going back to that 99% of them are single shooters, you're probably not gonna run into somebody else in their little group, if there is a group, on your way out. Let's see, it's on the second floor, somebody's up there, you know, obviously not here, but high school wise, or even, Hilltop. Somebody gets up to the second floor, if you're on the first floor, get out. If you can, just get out and get away. Breaking windows, if you need to do that, try and avoid the elevators, because those always go super fast. Leave your personal belongings. The one thing if you can bring it, but don't go back for it, is your phone. Even if you get the alert, don't assume that somebody else has made a phone call. So even if you dial 911 and just leave it, it's gonna pick up, and if they hear, you know, somebody running, and they get, you know, one phone call from someplace, we still go check those as law enforcement. We go to a place, even if it's just a certain area, we'll go there, we'll check and say, you know, okay, there's nothing amiss here. We get 60 open lines of nothing, that's what we call a clue, that something's going on. So even if you can't see anything, just dial it and go. If it's in your pocket, you know, we got a whole bunch of, dispatch sees a whole bunch of calls coming in, they can figure out, that something's going on and they need to send a cab. Don't stay, don't stay behind because others refuse to go. Kids, it's a little tough. Pick them up is what's good with elementary. Even me, I'm bigger than most of the elementary kids. Pick them up, get them out the door. Other staff members, if you can get their kids out the door, try to, but don't sit there and start an argument with them, we need to go, we need to go. Do what you can, and then get your rear ends out the door. You know, if somebody decides, okay, I wanna lock down and I'm staying, and you decide you're gonna evacuate, don't get into an argument with them, just do your thing and go. They're choosing that lockdown situation in their mind is the best thing they can do, so leave it at that. You decide the evacuation is what you can do, leave it at that, and get your kids out the door. And then kind of where I started, call 911 when it's safe to do so. Like I said, even if you're barricaded and you finally get through on 911, say I'm on the first floor of Hagen, well, the only floor of Hagen, sorry. I'm in Hagen, I'm in the northeast corner, I'm in the 4th grade room. I have 15 kids and we are safe. At least we know where those 15 kids are and we know where you are. We don't have to be searching the woods, you know, anything like that when we do arrive. Alert, and everyone is authorized to do this. I know every building is, I think every building is different, isn't it? With how you access the
Yes,
the
codes
PA
are
system.
different,
Okay.
on the speaker.
One thing that was brought up, I can't remember during one of these presentations, if you go over the PA and say, you know, there's a shooter in the building, if you don't hang that phone back up, no one else can access the page system. We talked to Marty about that, and there's really no way around it. Again, it's a minor thing. Most of it's gonna be, like, when it comes down to it, most of it's gonna be screaming and yelling. But if you happen to use the PA, hang it back up, because if somebody else needs to access it for any reason, they won't be able to do that. Use plain English. I don't think we really have much of a problem with that. We're not gonna say, you know, code teal in the 4K hallway. It's, you know, there's somebody with a gun in the 4K hallway. That's as simple and as understand as you can. And that, you know, kind of helps always. You guys really don't have any code words that we're using, right? Okay, not that I'm aware of. Okay. Inform. This is like if you were in a huge school and you had like a security team that would be able to sit in an office. I don't expect Natalie or Joanne or Matt or any of them to be sitting in their office going over the PA. They're going down this hallway, sitting in front of like some huge monitor system. It's just not gonna happen. So kind of with our district, the inform part doesn't really do much. But if you've evacuated and you see, you know, somebody suspicious running from the building, if you're on the phone with dispatch, say, you know, there's somebody I don't recognize wearing a black hoodie and jeans running out, you know, into the cornfield by a farming fleet. That's some helpful information that you can pass on to our dispatchers that responding law enforcement can, if people look out for a guy walking around in a black hoodie. Okay, lockdown, we used to be known as barricade. Fortunately, all the buildings are, 99% of them are brick, so it's gonna stop a lot of rounds if they're being used, even rifle rounds. Some still go through them, but they're gonna at least slow them down a little bit. These rooms are tough because there's a lot of glass in them. There are actually some schools that are poorly designed enough to where they're a huge hub with no doors and all the walls are glass. I wouldn't even wanna try and do an Alice presentation there. It's just, that would be a nightmare. So, barricading the thick walls, and no windows if you can. So like in here, if you have time to barricade a couple doors and then into a computer lab, the only issue with this. Oh, there's another out. Then I think the other one. So, like I was saying earlier, if it's a lockdown situation, the best bet for you to survive and your kids to survive is to get out. So if you're barricading, looking for another way to get out. You know, if there is no other way out, if you're in one of the rooms where you cannot get out of any other way, find better ways to fortify your doors. And to this day, and I said this last year because it hasn't changed since last year, there has been no breached door, like door that's been pulled open or torn open, that has been securely or properly locked. So all these little devices that we had talked about before, you know, dropping them in there, there isn't a need for them. It's a kind of a comfort feeling, but no door that has been secured or properly locked has been breached by the attacker. So the biggest thing is making sure that door is locked and trying to find the fastest way to get it locked. I know Natalie had a thing up at Hilltop with some magnets and a pull tab to get those out of there. They're a little too thick. I think you're finding it's not working the best.
They're not working the best, no.
Trying to get with the Fab Lab at the high school to find a little bit thinner versions of that, but it's kind of like just a T-shaped, like a sideways T that can just sit in the door, and it doesn't matter what door it is. You can leave it in there. It's locked all the time, but the kids are, you know, in and out, whatever they need to do. And if they need to, you can tell them go pull the orange tab. Kid runs over there, pulls the tab, door's locked. So you don't have to sit there and fiddle around because with keys, because in a high stress situation, your fingers are gonna turn to this. You're gonna have stumps and they're not gonna work the way they're supposed to. All right, so kind of back to this. Lock your doors, cover the window if you have time. Yeah, if not, it's not a huge deal. Probably the biggest thing is just being out of sight. If there's some, talking to some SROs, they're putting a dot on their wall, like their main room, say this is the main door to their room. They're putting a dot on the wall someplace up high where if you're looking from the outside, you can't see anything past that. So like say we have the keep calm and read on is the dot that's on the top of the ceiling. If any kids that are on that side of that dot are not gonna be able to be seen. So if that's your only option while you're even barricading, you get all the kids behind that, just say, you know what, stay behind that. It's twitching like crazy. Anyone's on the other side of that, they're safe, they're out of sight. Most of the people, the shooters are lazy, they don't wanna have to work to get anybody. So if they look in and they can't see anybody, most of the time, they're gonna move on. So, like I say, if they look in, don't see anybody there, they're gonna move on to an easier target. So if it's something you wanna do in your room, some have gone so far as to paint a red line on the floor, if they have that option, make sure all the kids are behind that line. But just looking in, I can't see any further, like you say, and that's why I use that sign. Anything from that way over, I can't see. Like all the way over here from Eric over, I can't see anything. So that's a pretty good area. Granted, this room, you know, you have the windows, but it's a pretty good sized area to have kids, you know, to be able to hide. When you have the time, you know, identify any weapons in your room, and that kind of leads into the counter part of this. Libraries are awesome for having stuff on the counter with, you know, books, staplers, water bottles. Everybody's got the nice tumblers. Lock the doors with any heavy furniture if you can. I know St. Joe's has I did a thing there. They have like a strap kind of sitting here that goes around the door and then it clicks next to it. That works for them. There's a lot of doors here that's not gonna work for. So, especially the outward pulling doors, that's what most of them are, right? But the doors swing out.
That's out here, they go in.
They go in. Alright.
Except for the library.
Oh, yeah, that's kindergarten doors. Fourth grade doors.
Yeah. So just know your room and try and look at the best way to secure your door. If you have a heavy bookshelf, it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing, but to have something heavy that you can slide in front of the door, that's right by your door, so you don't have to think, oh, I need to push that from 60 feet away across my room over in the front of the door. Like I say, if you have something like that close by, great. And again, even as of, well, I should have updated this. No one's entered through a locked interior door. So as long as your door is properly locked, the barricade stuff afterwards is kind of just a little bit extra. If you're in open space, like stuck in the gym, and you really can't do a whole lot with that, it's movement. Obviously, a moving target is harder to hit. But in those situations, you know, just throwing stuff at the person is going to be a way to help your situation. All right, so copiers. The door stoppers, yes, sometimes they work. You put them on the wrong floor, sometimes they'll slide. Even these at the police department, we can't, because we're not a jail facility anymore. Even if we have some jackal act that we have secured in a room there, we can't have locks on those doors. So, yeah, I know, don't even start me on that. But we've tried to put these cool rubber stoppers in there, and you get someone PO'd enough, and all they have to do is push on the door, and it folds that up real quick. So just kind of keep that in mind. If that's something, you know, you're gonna use for your room to secure your door, test it. We found out the hard way that wasn't gonna keep that dude in there. So the same thing, you know, for your rooms. If you're gonna try something, or if you think something might work, test it. Have somebody come in and, you know, try and get your door open. If they can get it open by barely putting a shoulder into it, great. Or I shouldn't say great, not so great. But if they're, you know, really slamming themselves into it and can't get it open, I'd say that's a win.
And we tested some of those at Hilltop, and the tile floor was too slippery.
Yeah,
With
and
the wax on there, so they wouldn't stay.
Yeah, and especially a door or a wood door wedge on a tile floor isn't gonna work very well. I've even tried we glued like some rubber, something sticky to the bottom of it, and a lot of times you put your shoulder into that hard enough, it peels it right off. So, like I say, whatever you're planning on using, test it. Don't just assume that it's gonna work because it seems like a good idea at the time. Alright, so the counterpart is more of a last resort. It's not fighting with the person, it's distracting them. It's that OODA loop. I know I've talked to you about this before. It's observe, orient, decide, and act. Anything you do throughout the day, whether it's driving, walking into the building, you do that OODA loop. It's observe, orient, decide, and act. So if we can throw something into that loop to interrupt it, you buy yourself time. A couple seconds, you know, one shot every 8 seconds. If you can interrupt that 10 times, you just bought yourself a minute. So, or a little bit more than that. But whether it's, you know, the screaming and loud alarms, like I say, if you're in an open area moving around, you're harder to hit, and distractions, throw anything. I'm hoping to do a hands-on volunteer only. I'm not gonna make everybody do it, but a volunteer Alice training where you are throwing stuff. I'll pick somebody from who's probably never really handled a rifle before or handled a firearm before to use a Nerf gun, to go into a place and pretty much like this is right now, walk in and just start shooting people with a Nerf gun. They're gonna have stuff thrown at them, hopefully no, you know, tumblers, anything like that, but it's more of a hands-on. It gives people a lot of anxiety, but when they're done, because I've done this at the Boys and Girls Club, they're like, that was freaking awesome. Because it puts into perspective, you know, this is gonna work, this isn't gonna work, okay, I would've done this instead of this at this time. It exposes you to that moment, like, what am I gonna do? And your body, even just that one exposure to it, it helps your body get used to, okay, I know I survived this once, I can do this again. So it's kind of just a desensitization for you. All right, back to the corner thing, I kind of got off track a little bit. It's mainly to incapacitate them, just using the items in your environment. Whether it's, like I say, fire extinguishers, anything else you can find, just to distract them a little bit. All right, and once we do arrive, hopefully within like 3 minutes, 7 minutes, if the person is down, if they've tried to come in here and you guys are right by the door, you snap his arm, he's laying on the ground and you're sitting on top of him, make sure we don't mistake you for the gunman. You know, if gun's over there, grab a garbage can, put the garbage can on top of it, have somebody sit on top of it. And when we come in, we're gonna be like, you know, why are you pretty much yelling at you, but say I'm sitting on the gun. We are trained, or we are taught that hands kill. So if we can see your hands, our safety is gonna feel less threatened. So if we can see your hands, and don't, you know, be standing there, sitting there with this in your hand, because this is just something in your hand. People have been shot for having a cell phone in their hands. So if at all possible, nothing in your hands at all. But again, that boils down to, when we get there, just do what you're told. Please don't argue with us, because it's not gonna go well for you. If they're still active, and you're evacuating as we're showing up, if you can tell us where they're at, or, you know, explain, I saw them in the 4K hallway, I saw them in the 2nd grade hallway. It at least kind of gives us an area to start. You know, these change and they rapidly evolve. Don't come outside pointing at us like this. Again, hands where we can see them. No quick movements. If we're gonna ask you for something, don't go reaching in like this, because that's gonna probably put our hair up even if we don't have it. Just do exactly what you're told. You're gonna have probably some auditory exclusion. So we understand that, you know, we can be screaming at you and you're not gonna hear what we're saying, even though you're smart enough to comprehend it. It's just that auditory exclusion on a high stress situation. Again, average response time is 5 to 6 minutes. We'd like to improve that. They're typically over in 7 minutes. Some initial reactions when you see something that's just out of the ordinary, even like, okay, you know, I didn't just see what I saw. I even do that on traffic stops. You know, did I just see them trying to hide a grinder underneath their seat? So it's just something small like that. And some will, even, you know, even if you've gone over it, who doesn't know what a grinder is? I just saw somebody over there explaining what a grinder is. It's what people use to put their butt in there for marijuana. It's like this metal, it's a metal pin that's got tops on it, and they'll grind it out. It's easier for them to pack run this, a scenario, 3,000 different scenarios through your head, there's still a chance you're gonna freeze. But the main thing is, like I said right at the beginning, is I don't want the failure to act, because that's when lives are lost. And for bystanders, somebody's, you know, you're walking down the hallway, and you literally see somebody walking in with a weapon. If you feel comfortable enough, tackle them and just start screaming for help. It's the failure to act that's what's gonna harm, or what's gonna end lives. So, that's about it. Who has any questions? Somebody's gotta be the first one.
Well, the one question that has come up is, are we going to get those window breakers to break our windows if we need to escape? We talked about it at our safety meeting, and we were like all gung ho, we're gonna buy hammers, we're gonna buy window breakers, and then we thought, well, who's going to be able to find it if you're in an emergency? If it's hidden in your desk or buried in a drawer? So then, that you have so many things in your rooms, you just take anything you can find and throw it through the window, a chair, a monitor, anything, to get out of the
Yeah.
window.
If you are gonna break a window, the best place to break a window is in the corners. Don't try and break it in the middle, because it's amazing how much glass will flex when you hit it in the middle with something. Even trying to, you know, throw the chair, if you're using a chair to hit it, try and hit it in the corners, and try and hit in the upper corners, if you can reach them. Because when you hit at the bottom, all that awesome stuff's gonna fall down, and we don't need any missing fingers or anything like that. But that's like Natalie was saying, you can have all the tools in the world, if you can't find those tools when the time comes, they don't do any good.
We even talked about using like a baseball, like if you have a baseball, not that you're gonna have all that, but that's something that could be in your desk drawer if you wanted. But anything that you have that you could feel like you could aim and hit would
That
be
you
the
could
best.
throw through a window, just to break it. Yes.
Well, just a thought, we could just put a hook by the window, put your window breaker by the window, and it's always by the window. Just a thought.
That is there. I know, and when we had mentioned something like that, like having it by the window, Josh and Nate at the middle school just cringed. Because having something to break a window right next to the window, easily accessible for some of the middle school kids, is a whole
Well, yeah, but
But if you feel that's the best, you know, that's something you wanna do in your room, I'm not gonna say no.
Well, the other thing with that, when you have those things visible, it also could end up becoming a weapon for students in your classroom. So I guess I would just venture to say, keep something that you know where it is. If it's visible to a kid, especially a volatile kid, you do not wanna give them that, that ammunition.
I know this is more of a hilltop concern, but maybe bringing it up to you because we've been talking to Randy for years. Our courtyard is a major problem in this, I mean, I'm on second floor, courtyard side, so I only have one exit. If anyone were to escape into the courtyard, we're sitting ducks because those doors don't open from the courtyard.
I love that you brought it up, because we actually brought that up at our safety meeting with Marty.
I did my homework like I was asked to do at our meeting.
Yep.
I just thought I'd put another one because
No,
you've been
and that's-
asking
That was on
for
my
years.
list too.
Yeah, it's, we brought it up to Marty, and with the, there was a new round of, for more funds,
Yes.
they need to, because it's just different kinds of doors, they need to have somebody evaluate the door to see what kind of lock they're gonna need, but that is like one of the top.
Is there a plan for those of us who are courtyard side for a second exit?
It's in the works, so Marty, he put in the request to the company to find out which door, because
But-
technically, we don't wanna go back into the school through Gail and Shannon's door, because then we're back in the school.
Right.
We wanna get into the gym and get out that
But
way.
what about like the second floor, like windows, like are there ladders or any other plans available for classrooms like mine where I would only have that one exit?
Yeah, we haven't talked about ladders or anything
No, we
like
haven't
that.
talked about any of that.
Okay, I just was curious, cause.
And, you know, if for some reason that happens between now and, you know, whatever sort of answer we have for you, broken legs are better than taking a shot.
Right.
I mean, it's, you know, it's not a winter Sunday,
Yeah,
but it's, I would rather deal with that and, you know, something like that and getting out.
But they'll look at putting locks on both those doors, right? Because if you're coming from the middle school, if you're in
They're
the
gonna start with,
cafeteria, you might
they're
wanna.
gonna start with one, because Marty was saying, I think each one of those locks could be upwards of $5,000. Or to put like and it's gonna be a key card lock, one of those, and hopefully it doesn't get deactivated in some sort of lockdown situation. So that's the other part of it. Yes?
Just something talking about the second floor in the
I'm sorry, what?
I would talk, I'm sorry. Just talking about those buildings that have second floors and things. If you're looking at leaving through the windows, collapsible ladders, those ladders that roll up, it can go into like a cabinet or something, so you do have it. I know, like a hammer or something, you have to go digging for it. But in the event in a fire, in a evacuation situation, or if you don't work out, that still may be the safest way.
Yeah, and the lock, I like that, because you're even the lockdown part of it, you're buying yourself time to get that ladder out to hook it up.
And it's more serviceable to get a high volume of people out there.
Right, even if you're going partway down and falling off of it, you're still 5 feet closer to the ground than you were before. No, I like that. Thank you.
I don't know, what do you have other plans for?
In a perfect world, there would be no.
They're about $20 at Walmart. They're not that expensive.
This way or flip? Yes, I can actually do that after this. Okay. Anyone else? First up, yes.
At the safety meeting, was it brought up about the double blue doors?
About the what?
The double blue doors on the way up to the second floor?
That's been brought up to maintenance.
Maintenance?
Maintenance, yeah, they're aware of that, so they look at it each year and,
And it's so,
yeah. Yeah, the doors that, when you come down the stairway on the east side, they don't always latch and shut.
Oh,
The
outside?
the double blue doors, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the winter time, it gets worse with the salt and.
But there's a sign that says make sure the doors are closed, so it should close, right? Because I noticed the doors, and I had Chris actually put up a sign on that one too, in between the middle school and Hilltop.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, now those doors have shifted and they don't close. So,
Maybe we don't put a sign on the inside, we put it on the outside, don't use this door. It's kind of a joke.
first off, I know you guys had to be here, but thank you for being here. My kids and everybody else's kids depends on your guys' decisions, so thank you.
The only question on that online link that we had was, are we ever going to practice Alice in its full blown with children? That was the only question on there.
That, as of right now, no. A full-blown Alice, everything, and I can't believe some of the people actually SROs, they've had to wear completely unannounced Alice lockdown drills. And if you wanna end up losing an SRO position or losing your job, that's probably the best way to do it. I'm trying to find the best way to involve kids, because fourth graders are not gonna take it as well as seniors, juniors in high school, and, 4K kids aren't gonna be able to handle it as well as, 7th graders. So there's really no good way to train those for kids. It's gonna be traumatic no matter what, so they have, and when I say they, it's like all the instructors before that do this kind of stuff, haven't found the best way to do that with kids. Like I said, there have been some SROs that I can't believe they even thought this was a good idea. Full on, come in, completely unannounced drill, and they're dealing with mental health issues for the next 3 months. Besides parents being messed up. That's why right now it's focused on all of you. So if they stop what they're doing, look at you and listen to exactly what you're saying. We're probably gonna do something light, in different buildings, where it's like an emergency lockdown, to where, all right, we're in an emergency lockdown, everybody get to this side of the room. You know, the teacher might put something in front of the door. It's kind of a ebb and flow with that. But no, not full on, kids are screaming type thing, because that is not gonna go well at all. All right, thank you.
Couple more things that we have too. So last year Andy read the book for us, I'm Not Scared, I'm Prepared, so we'll share that link out with you, so before our schools do their evacuation drills, which are coming up in the next couple weeks. Some are this next week, some are the week after.
Yep, and the other thing we learned also at our safety meeting is that we are actually required to do 2 tornado drills a year, which we didn't realize. We learned that.
It just, I think, just started.
It just started,
Yeah.
yeah. So, for Tanner staff, you all practiced an evacuation drill last spring. We will do that again this spring, but for this fall, what we will be practicing next week will be our preventative lockdown. And then we will go into an emergency lockdown, but we're not gonna barricade doors or anything. We're gonna just kind of think about that spot in your room that you can go and sit quietly with your class. That's all we are going to do, and we can follow up a little bit in more detail at our staff meeting on Wednesday, just a bit of our time, and I can talk a little bit more about it with our screencastify this week. But with that being said, at some point after we get through this week and we practice, whether it's our evacuation or our preventative lockdowns, we will be conducting a tornado drill. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So even though we probably won't have any tornadoes until you never know. I should say that, right? I didn't say that. So, but that's kind of the plan for the different schools. Everybody is conducting different drills, but just as long as we're all on the same page and you know where we're coming from. So, any other questions? All right, wow, that was record time.
Should we take a little break and then
Yep.
come back in, then we could actually do the online tools early if we wanted to?
Yep, so let's take maybe like a 10-minute break. We will kind of move ahead and we'll start our online tools section a little bit earlier. It gives you guys a little bit more time too to collaborate. So if you need, we'll have these computer labs, but if we have a problem, thank you, Lindsay, right? So we were going to do that. Back about 10 now.
Yeah, perfect.